A businessman in Tokyo steps out of a 16-hour workday. His train is late. His inbox has 90 unread messages. His apartment is smaller than most people's bedrooms. By every measure, his life should be falling apart. But when he walks through his door, something strange happens. His shoulders drop. His breathing slows. Within minutes, the tension of the entire day quietly disappears. Not because his problems vanished, but because he spent his whole life building tiny rituals designed to release stress the moment it appears. This isn't willpower. It isn't therapy. It isn't a retreat in the mountains. It's a set of everyday habits so small you could miss them entirely. And yet researchers studying Japanese stress response patterns have found they measurably lower cortisol, slow the heart rate, and rewire the nervous system's relationship with pressure. Today we're uncovering 17 of these secrets. Some are ancient, some are hiding in plain sight in ordinary apartments across Japan. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why people in one of the most overworked countries on earth have quietly figured out how to carry heavy days with a light body. Japan has one of the most demanding work cultures in the world. Long commutes, long hours. A culture that historically prized endurance over rest. And yet, tucked inside that same culture is a completely different tradition, one built on precision, mindfulness, and an almost scientific understanding of how the human body processes pressure. These aren't vague ideas about finding balance. They're specific, repeatable actions. A way of breathing, a way of eating, a way of walking home, a way of ending the day so it doesn't follow you into your sleep. What makes these habits so powerful isn't that they eliminate stress. Stress is going to happen no matter where you live. What makes them powerful is that they interrupt stress before it becomes chronic, before it settles into the body and stays there. Let's begin with the first secret, one used by nearly every household in Japan without anyone even thinking of it as a wellness practice at all. Secret 1. The forest reset. Shinrin-Yoku. In the 1980s, Japan was facing a quiet health crisis. Rapid urbanization was pulling people away from nature, and stress-related illness was climbing. In response, researchers developed something called Shinrin-Yoku, forest bathing. Not hiking, not exercise, just slow sensory immersion in trees, walking without a destination. Noticing the light through branches, the smell of bark, the sound of leaves moving. Clinical studies since then have found that this simple practice lowers stress hormones, reduces blood pressure, and shifts the nervous system out of fight or flight and into rest and repair. The secret isn't the forest itself, it's the permission to move without a goal. In a culture obsessed with productivity, choosing to wander purposelessly, even for 20 minutes, becomes a radical act of nervous system repair. Grit 2. Eating until 80% full. Hara, Hachi, Bu. On the island of Okinawa, home to some of the longest living people on Earth, there's a quiet mealtime rule. Stop eating when you're 80% full, not 100%. At first glance, this sounds like a diet tip. It isn't. It's a stress tip. Eating until you're completely full forces the body into a heavy digestive state. Blood rushes to the stomach, energy drops, and the nervous system tips towards sluggishness and irritability. Stopping at 80% keeps the body light, alert, and calm. It also does something subtler. It trains a kind of restraint, a habit of listening to internal signals instead of external cues like an empty plate. That same skill, noticing your limit before you cross it, quietly transfers into how these communities handle everything else in life. Secret 3. A reason to get up. Ikigai. Ikigai roughly translates to a reason for being. But contrary to how it's often marketed, Ikigai isn't one grand life purpose. A 2025 survey of over 1,000 Japanese adults found that most people don't name a single mission. They name 8 or 9 small reasons: a morning coffee, a garden, a grandchild's phone call, a hobby with no audience. This matters because chronic stress often comes from over-identifying with one pressure point: a job, a deadline, a single relationship. When your sense of purpose is spread across many small anchors, losing or struggling with one of them doesn't collapse your entire sense of meaning. Stress has fewer places left to grip. Secret for letting go on purpose. Danshari. Danshari is often mistaken for simple decluttering, but its roots go deeper. It combines 3 ideas: refusing what you don't need, discarding what no longer serves you, and separating yourself from attachment altogether. Applied to physical space, it clears rooms. Applied to the mind, it clears mental loops. Old arguments replayed for the 10th time, decisions already made but still being second-guessed, obligations kept only out of guilt. Practicing Danshari isn't about a dramatic clean sweep. It's a quiet, repeated question: is this still serving me, or am I just carrying it out of habit? Every time the answer is no, a small weight lifts. Secret 5. Doing one thing at a time. Ichigyo-Zanmai. There's a term in Japanese Zen tradition, Ichigyo-Zanmai, total absorption in a single action. Washing a dish like it's the only thing that exists. Walking to the station without checking a phone. Modern life treats multitasking like a skill. Neuroscience treats it like a stress amplifier. Every switch between tasks costs mental energy and raises cognitive load. The people who seem calmest under pressure aren't doing less. They're doing one thing with their full attention, then moving to the next. The stress doesn't come from the number of tasks. It comes from doing 5 of them badly at once, in your head, simultaneously. Secret 6. The nightly reset. Ofuro. Long before hot baths were marketed as self-care, Japanese households built them into the architecture of daily life. Ofuro, the evening bath, isn't for cleaning the body. That happens separately, beforehand. The bath itself is purely for the nervous system. Sitting still, in silence, in warm water, with no phone and no task. Physiologically, this does something specific. Heat dilates blood vessels, slows heart rate, and signals to the brain that the day's threats are over. It's a built-in off switch, scheduled every single night, regardless of how the day went. The ritual works precisely because it's non-negotiable. Stress doesn't get a vote in whether the bath happens. Secret 7. Small boring improvements. Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous incremental improvement, a philosophy that shaped Japanese manufacturing and quietly Japanese psychology. The stress-reducing power of Kaizen lies in its refusal to demand transformation. Instead of fix your entire life, it asks, what's 1% improvement today? This matters because overwhelming goals are a major source of chronic stress. The gap between where you are and where you think you should be. Kaizen closes that gap by making the target so small it can't trigger anxiety. 1 drawer, 1 paragraph, 1 5-minute walk. Small wins accumulate, and the nervous system, which hates uncertainty, finally has something predictable to hold on to. Secret 8. Beauty in the unfinished. Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi is the aesthetic appreciation of imperfection, a cracked bowl repaired with gold, a garden that's allowed to age rather than stay artificially pristine. On the surface, it's about art and design. Underneath, it's a direct antidote to perfectionism, one of the most consistent predictors of chronic stress in modern psychology. Wabi-Sabi teaches that something can be incomplete, worn, or flawed, and still be worthy of care and attention. Applied inward, this becomes permission. permission to have an unfinished project, an imperfect body, a day that didn't go as planned, without treating it as failure. The stress of not enough yet quietly loses its grip. Secret Hein. The threshold ritual, Genkan. Every Japanese home has a Genkan, a small entryway where shoes come off before stepping further inside. It seems purely practical. It isn't only that. The Genkan functions as a psychological threshold, a physical repeated moment that separates outside world from home world. Removing shoes becomes a micro ritual that tells the nervous system the outside stress stays outside. Many Western homes have no equivalent. Stress simply walks in with you in your shoes onto your couch, creating even a small version of this threshold, a moment where you consciously set the day down before entering your space, gives the body a clear signal that it's safe to stand down. Secret 10. One time, one meeting. Ichigo-Ichie. The Japanese tea ceremony is built around a phrase, Ichigo-Ichie. One time, one meeting. Every gathering, even with the same people in the same room, is treated as unrepeatable. This mindset trains a kind of radical presence. Stress often comes from mentally living in two places at once, replaying the past, rehearsing the future, while physically sitting somewhere else entirely. Ichigo-Ichie collapses that gap by insisting, this moment will never happen again, so be inside it. You don't need a formal ceremony to borrow this. A single cup of tea taken slowly without a phone can become its own 5-minute reset. Secret 11. Walking without a destination. In many Japanese cities, it's common to see people take unhurried evening walks with no clear end point. Not exercise, not errands, just movement. This is different from a purposeful commute. The nervous system responds differently to walking with a deadline versus walking with none. Goal-directed movement keeps the sympathetic nervous system engaged, scanning for time pressure. Undirected walking allows it to finally downshift. Some neighborhoods are even designed with this in mind. Narrow lanes, small shrines, quiet corners, spaces that invite slowness rather than speed. The secret isn't the walk, it's the absence of a clock attached to it. Secret 12. Making space for silence. Ma. Ma is a concept found throughout Japanese art, architecture, and music. The meaningful pause between things. The space between notes in a song, the empty area in a room that isn't filled with furniture. The pause in a conversation that isn't awkward, just intentional. Western culture often treats silence and empty space as something to eliminate. Fill the pause, fill the room, fill the schedule. Ma treats emptiness as functional, even necessary. A calendar with no gaps produces a nervous system with no recovery windows. Deliberately protecting small pockets of unscheduled time isn't laziness, it's structural stress prevention. Secret 13. Living things at eye level. Bonsai trees, small potted plants, a single flower in a vase, greenery in Japanese homes and offices is rarely decorative for its own sake. Exposure to living plants, even briefly and even indoors, has been linked to lower blood pressure and reduced psychological stress markers. But there's a subtler layer here too. Caring for a bonsai requires patience measured in years, not days. Tending something that grows slowly recalibrates a mind that's used to instant results. It's a quiet daily reminder that not everything worth having can be rushed, including your own recovery from a hard day. Secret 14. Saying thank you before you eat, Itadakimasu. Before a meal, it's common to say Itadakimasu, roughly, I humbly receive. It's said before every meal, formal or casual, alone or with others. This isn't just etiquette. It's a repeated built-in gratitude cue inserted into the day multiple times without requiring a journal or an app. Gratitude practices have consistently been linked to lower stress reactivity, but most people forget to practice them because they require remembering. Attaching gratitude to something you already do every day in eating removes the memory problem entirely. The ritual doesn't rely on willpower. It relies on hunger, which shows up reliably 3 times a day. Secret 15. Breathing like it's the only task. Traditional Japanese breathing practices drawn from Zen meditation emphasize long, slow exhalations, often twice the length of the inhale. This isn't just a relaxation trick. Physiologically, extended exhales activate the vagus nerve, directly signaling the parasympathetic nervous system to calm down. What makes this Japanese isn't the biology, which is universal. It's the discipline around it. Breath practice treated as a formal, repeated ritual rather than something reached for only in emergencies. 5 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing, practiced daily rather than only during a crisis, trains the nervous system to return to baseline faster every single time stress appears. Secret 16, reframing, instead of complaining, Gaman. Gaman is often translated as patient endurance, and it has a complicated history. Taken too far, it can mean suppressing real pain. But at its healthiest, Gaman is a specific mental skill, distinguishing between suffering you can act on and suffering you can only carry with dignity for now. Modern psychology calls a version of this radical acceptance, not fighting a circumstance you cannot immediately change, which paradoxically reduces the stress of fighting it. Gaman, practiced well, isn't about silence. It's about not spending extra emotional energy resisting what's already happening so that energy stays available for what can actually be changed. Secret 17, ending the day on purpose. The final secret ties every other one together: intentional closure, a consistent bedtime, a dimmed room, no screens processed right up until sleep. This sounds almost too simple to call a secret, but its power lies in consistency, not novelty. A nervous system that never receives a clear signal that the day is over stays mildly activated even during rest, which is why so many people wake up already tired. Japanese households that maintain a firm, unhurried wind-down ritual aren't doing anything mystical. They're simply giving the body a repeated, reliable cue. The demands are finished and it's safe to fully let go until morning. None of these 17 secrets are dramatic. No retreats, no expensive equipment, no radical life overhaul. That's precisely the point. Chronic stress rarely arrives as one massive event. It accumulates through hundreds of small, unmanaged moments across a day. And so the antidote isn't one massive fix either. It's dozens of small, repeatable interruptions, a threshold at the door, a pause between meetings, a slow exhale, a bath with no phone in sight. Individually, each habit seems almost too small to matter, but stacked together day after day, they form something much larger. A nervous system that knows again and again that it's allowed to come down from high alert. If even one of these secrets found a place in your evening tonight, that's enough to start. So here's the real question. Out of these 17, which one are you going to try first? Drop it in the comments below, and if this video helped you breathe a little easier, you know exactly what to do next.